It's time for the Tech Mobility Show with Ken Chester. Ken is a veteran journalist who doesn't always color between the lines. So, here he is, the host with the electrified personality, Ken Chester.
Real facts, real opinions, real talk. Time again for the Tech Mobility Show, your program for news, information, and perspective at the intersection of mobility and technology. I'm Ken Chester. Before I even get started, two things. One, who took my crayons? Because, color between the lines. Can't color if you don't have crayons. Second, you might note that my voice is a little raspy. It's not the sound quality. It's me. I'm getting over a cold. Thank you, dear. That's my voice this week, so much apologies. So if I squeak and my voice breaks, no, I am not going back to puberty. I'm just getting over a cold. We need to get to this full docket, so let's get started. On the docket, high-tech snares fleeing vehicles. How many vehicles do you own? And an EV battery chemistry update. To add your voice to the conversation, be it to ask a question, share an opinion, or even to suggest a topic for future discussion, call or text the Tech Mobility Hotline. That number, 872-222-9793, or you can email the show directly, talk@techmobility.show, and that is talk@techmobility.show. By the way, check us out either on social media or one of our two podcast streams. You can find us normally by typing the Tech Mobility Show on social media and either the Tech Mobility Podcast or Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you enjoy podcasts. For those of you on X, it's actually Tech Mobility Pod because, well, Elon Musk has us like that. From the Tech Mobility News Desk. If you are a movie fan of movies from the 80s, no doubt you have watched or you have heard of the Back to the Future franchise. And at the heart of that time travel show, those three movies that was made with Michael J. Fox, is a car called the DeLorean. And for those of you that this is a little older, that was actually a real car that was actually built by a former GM alum by the name of John DeLorean. And he attempted to build a car of all places in Northern Ireland in the early 1980s. But like so many small companies, and like the auto business, which is always starved for capital, he didn't have enough. And he got snared in a federal investigation where they caught him trying to get a dope deal together to raise some money for his company. He was later acquitted, but much like the Tucker car of the late 1940s, where they got ensnared in a federal case, something else, and shut down, he shut down. So while a number of people did own the original DeLorean, not everybody did. And it was a company in Texas that ended up buying all the assets and spare parts, engines, fenders, all the parts, and moved that to Austin. These same people are now reimagining the DeLorean, and now it's called the DMC-EV. And this new recreated car is now for sale. You can buy a EV version of the reimagined DMC-12 that was actually built for $249,999. It's being done by a company called Lynx Motors, that's LYNX, known for its innovative approach to automotive design. And they have finally opened reservations for the DeLorean DMC-EV, what they consider an all-electric, high-performance vehicle. This exclusive model combines luxury, cutting-edge technology, and the iconic design of the original DeLorean. With limited availability, buyers are encouraged to secure their spot by making a deposit of $2,500. So if you even want to get in line to get one, and they don't say how many they're going to build, by the way, they will start delivering these in 2025. You will spend $250,000, but you need $2,500 down to get your spot in. And I have a funny feeling that they are going to have probably more people interested than they plan to build a car. What would really be cool, they also mentioned the test drives can be scheduled starting late this year with a personal concierge. The DMC-EV features an all-electric, all-wheel drive system, and this is the cool part, with 4 in-wheel motors. That's a lot like performance cars, electric performance cars that we've seen and we've talked about in the past. They have the motors actually in the wheels. And they have a 70 kilowatt hour battery and a 250 mile range. What that means, if you're wondering if this car is very efficient, it actually is middle of the road to decent. What that means is it will deliver over 3 miles per kilowatt hour, probably about 3.25 miles per kilowatt hour. And that puts it in the high middle of EVs in terms of efficiencies. Now, I've talked to you about why I use that calculation as opposed to MPGE, which I still think, sorry, EPA, it's worthless. That's worthless. You want to know how far this vehicle will go on 1 kilowatt of power in the battery. Much the same way you want to know how far a vehicle will go on 1 gallon of gas. If you equate 70 kilowatt hours to a number of gallons of gasoline in a vehicle, and you compare it like that, then you're getting what you need to know. Between charges for the DMC-EV, I can get 250 miles. My battery, the power available to me to be converted into mechanical energy is 70 kilowatt hours. Honestly, at 3, it's 210, so it's a little higher than that, probably about 3.25. Not bad. To give you some comparison, the most efficient vehicles in the marketplace, which is the Lucid Air, is up over 5 miles per kilowatt hour. The Ford Lightning is at the bottom between 1.8 to 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Just to give you some context of where this falls. Not bad. They are talking about a 0 to 60 time of less than 4 seconds. Again, comparison, the Lucid Air does it in 2.8 in their extreme mode. Tesla Model S in ludicrous mode will do it in 2.9 seconds. Why somebody needs to go that fast, that quickly, I don't know. But anything under 5 seconds is incredibly fast. Trust me. A little over a second difference ain't a big deal in getting to 0 to 60. The issue is, how quickly can you stop this thing? That's the real deal. Interior redesign includes LEDs displays and touchscreen interfaces for a modern experience. Enhanced safety features such as side intrusion protection and traction control. And this is a really cool part. If you were wondering whether you should spend the money, Lynx Motors offers an industry-leading 80% buyback program and a 3-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. It does not say that it's mileage specific. 3 years, anything that could possibly go wrong with the car is covered. And I wonder aloud if this might be an opportunity for some folks in Hollywood to consider a remake of the Back to the Future with the new car. Maybe, I don't know, the grandson of Marty McFly or something. I think it would be super cool. And I'm really hoping that I get to see one of these. Now, the piece does not say exactly when next year they'll be available, does not say where I can pick one up, does not even include information other than visit lynx.car to learn more and reserve your DeLorean DMC-EV today. And I'm assuming that the website would give you more information. Should be curious how many of these they're going to build. I'm really, really curious. So I wanted to share that with you. And something else we're going to talk about. Let me grab it here. I want to talk about real quick. There's been a lot of talk about delays in EV manufacturing. GM is going to delay building their EV pickup at scale in their redesigned factory in Lake Orion Assembly. It's supposed to be next year. Excuse me. It's going to be now delayed to 2026. They are building this pickup truck at Factory Zero, what used to be called Hamtramck or their Detroit Automotive Center. So the truck is being built, but to scale it up, they are going to push that back, adding a second plant. It was supposed to happen late this year. And honestly, I wouldn't get all that up in arms about it, people. The auto industry is full of fits and starts, product delays, product rearrangements, and it has nothing to do with EVs. It has everything to do with the industry. It's a new thing. People are getting used to it. There are supply chain challenges. There's a million different things going on. Not unusual. But the one thing is, delay, not cancel. In some municipalities, driving away doesn't mean you got away, especially if they're not in pursuit. You're listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
Get the new Mazda 626 with dual airbags, an available V6 engine, the best basic warranty in its class, made in America with exceptional style. And if you're in the mood for value, just look at what your Mazda dealer has for you now. We make the exceptional affordable. Mazda, it just feels right.
The Mazda 626, that was a 1994 commercial, and it just feels right. The 626 was their flagship vehicle back then when cars still ruled the road. And even for a while, the Mazda 626 was actually American-made, built in a former Ford plant in Flat Rock, Michigan. I often told Mazda that their 626 was probably one of the most underappreciated vehicles in the marketplace. Don't know, it just was a great car. It's a well-known fact that a high-speed pursuit by law enforcement, any attempt to capture a fugitive from justice, is very often a dangerous endeavor, especially when innocent citizens are caught up in the middle, often with deadly results. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, from 2015 to 2020, there was an average of 370 fatal crashes per year due to police pursuits. 370 per year. Now comes a new technology that allows them to use something called a GPS tag to determine their very whereabouts without the chase. This is topic A. Now, I say it's new, but in fairness, the technology has been available since 2014. And as of right now, law enforcement in the United States in some 40 states are using this, and even in Canada. And here's how it works. They have the ability in the police car, either in it or an officer even standing outside of it, to fire a GPS tag to the vehicle that's either breaking away, trying to get away, whatever. They can do it from the car while in pursuit, or they can do it even, let's say, and you've seen the videos back in the day, where people thinking they could beat it, drive off. Officers talking to them, they decided they're going to drive off. What they don't know is two things. One, the officer standing next to your car can activate that GPS tag. Two, that GPS tag can be effective 18 to 20 feet from the patrol car. So if you're within 18 to 20 feet of that patrol car and you decide to make a run for it, and you wonder why the cop is not in hot pursuit, or they're in pursuit for a minute and then they drop back, it's because they're tracking you in real time. And they don't have to chase you. They will find you where you're at. In the case of the state of Massachusetts, the Massachusetts State Police are using this, and this tag sticks to the speeding vehicle and tracks its movements, all at the push of a button. Here's what they say about it. It allows officers to mitigate the situation and also limits the probability of serious injuries or fatalities involved with high-speed pursuits. That is Major Dan Tucker of the Massachusetts State Police. Now, the Massachusetts State Police have been using this system since May 2024, and has equipped 30 cruisers with the technology. A double-barreled launcher mounted on the front of the cruiser holds a pair of GPS tracking tags, two cylinder-shaped projectiles that are about the size of an adult's hand. Heated adhesive in the top of the projectile allows it to stick to the exterior of a fleeing vehicle, and a magnet helps it stay in place. Which makes me wonder, if you've got a vehicle, I don't know, like a Corvette or maybe a very high-priced carbon fiber vehicle, is the adhesive enough since the magnet won't work? I wonder. That's a question. Each launcher has a laser to help the trooper aim. And wherever the green dot is, that's where the GPS tag will land. And the troopers use a console with an arrow-shaped button to home in on the target. And like I said earlier, troopers can also use a handheld key fob to deploy the tracker remotely, which is useful if they're standing outside of their cruiser and a driver speeds off from a traffic stop. So even if they're outside of their cruiser, you thought you beat them, not necessarily. And I love this idea, even though it does smack a little bit of the Fast and the Furious, although what they used was actual EPS items that basically disable the car. That they would shoot it and it would actually attach to the car and disable the electronics. This isn't quite that dramatic. The system costs approximately $2,300 per cruiser per year. It's not cheap. And the agency would like to expand the program if possible. How's it going? Well, use of the technology so far has been overwhelmingly positive. So, how have they done? From May 16th through September 8th of this year, bear in mind, this is the first period where they've started using it in May of this year. The trackers were used 46 times, and they had a 76% rate. 3 out of 4 times when they deployed it, it was successful. A little less than 9% failed to attach to the car, and 15% were unsuccessful due to operator error, which means that number will drop as they get better. How does this compare to the number of pursuits that the Massachusetts State Police did last year? Last year in total, all of 2023, the Massachusetts State Police conducted 512 pursuits. As of September 11th of this year, there have been 361 pursuits, an increase comparing of 12% from last year. So think about this. 30 cars have it. 512 pursuits last year, 361 this year, and they've done just a little over 1 out of every 10 pursuits, they've used this. And when they've used it, they've had a success rate so far, 3 out of every 4 times they've used it, they've had a success rate of attaching the tracker to the vehicle. And I expect that rate to get better as officers, one, get more comfortable and get more experience with using it, and two, it gets on more cars. I would expect that, one, the number goes up. Number two, the success rate goes up. And number three, the problems and the challenges of all the negative things that happen with a high-speed pursuit are dramatically reduced, meaning property damage, cruiser damage, loss of life, injuries, accidents, all sorts of things, either with the vehicle that's fleeing or the officers that are chasing them. To give you an idea of why this is important, just this month, the mother of a 19-year-old nursing student who was killed in a 2021 crash in Massachusetts involving a police pursuit of an unarmed robbery suspect filed a wrongful death suit in U.S. District Court in Boston against the town it happened, the two local police officers involved, and the alleged robber. Now, whether or not this will get down to municipalities, I don't know. But right now, the state police are rolling it out. And I would think the larger cities in Massachusetts eventually would come around seeing that level of success, which would be Boston, Worcester, Springfield at the very least, and maybe some of the other communities. Anything to increase public safety, I'm all for that. And this sounds like one positive way to go. How many vehicles do you own? We take a look at which country boasts the highest number of vehicles per capita. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you've missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. Here's a question. How many vehicles do you own? And do you think that the number of vehicles that you have is normal or average for you, your community, maybe even your family? How does the number of vehicles that we own collectively in America compare with the rest of the world? I've got some surprising answers. This is topic B. I am a data freak. I love information. I love statistics. I love looking at stuff. And I stumbled across vehicles per 1,000 people. And I looked at a couple of different surveys to kind of find out where we were in the United States and rate of growth and what was going on. So let me state the obvious. Per capita, are we number one? Would you believe that we're not? We're number two. And the number one is not China. Because remember, I said number of vehicles per person, and it's not necessarily based on population. China has a population of 1.4 billion, but that doesn't mean, unlike America, where most people own a car. Basically, in America, 8 out of every 10 people in America own a vehicle. Of those of us that own a vehicle, how many do we own? Well, in the United States of America, for every 1,000 people, there are 860 vehicles owned. And that number in total, private vehicles, the last number I saw, and this is as of 2020, was 289 million vehicles used in America, or about 18% of the global total. Pretty cool. With one of the largest car ownership rates worldwide, the number of U.S. cars on the road have more than doubled since the 1960s. Now, our rate of growth lately is not as much. Let me tell you where the rate of automobile ownership or vehicle ownership is growing. And I'm using a growth rate period from 2015 to 2020. The rates vary from 1% to 4%, 4 being rather high. The one country where the number of vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants is growing at 4% of all places is Poland, and it's at 761 vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants. Two other countries that are growing quickly. Canada, 3% growth at 707 vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants, and Chechnya at 658 vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants with a growth rate of 3%. The country with the most vehicles per inhabitant, per 1,000 inhabitants, at 869, just edged us out by 9, is New Zealand. New Zealand. For every 1,000 people who live in New Zealand, there are 869 motor vehicles. For every 1,000 people that live in the United States of America, all 300 some odd million of us, 332 million actually, there's 860 for every 1,000. And that really depends on the state. If you live in Montana, you're probably closer to 2 vehicles. In some major metropolitan areas, it's probably less than 1 because not everybody owns a vehicle. I was looking at some statistics that kind of paralleled the growth of the auto industry in the United States, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But I also got curious, wondering about EV growth. It is not a surprise that China is home to over half of the world's EVs. How many EVs is that? 11 million. Would you believe the number 2 country for electric vehicles ownership and actual vehicles in use as of 2022 is the United States, and we're a fraction at 2.1 million. Number 3 is Germany at 1 million. France, number 4 at 620,000. Norway, number 5 at 580,000. If you round out, it would be the United Kingdom, Netherlands, South Korea, Canada, and Japan rounds out the top 10. But at 11 million, China is home to more than half of all the EVs on the road right now. And despite all the brouhaha about how people, and most people said, I'll never own an EV, I'll never own a hybrid, I don't want one. We're number 2. Let me give you some context, though. In the United States, our automakers that sell vehicles here sell between 15 to 16 million new vehicles a year. Of that, you can see where I'm going here. A fraction of that are EVs. Growing, because this is 2022, this is not in the last 2 years where a lot of new EVs have come to market. I'd love to see this survey again, maybe for 2024, 2025. And what I think you'll see, even though the China number will have increased, we will have increased substantially. I would not be surprised if that 2.1 million grows by 50%, if we're not 3 to 4 million vehicles, EVs. And that's all kinds of EVs. I mentioned earlier about looking at numbers because, again, I'm a geek and I love this kind of stuff. And I wanted to look at, because I've got numbers from the Oak Ridge National Laboratory Transportation Energy Data Book, edition 35, and it showed from the year 1900 through 2014, 114 years worth of data of U.S. vehicles per 1,000 people. In 1900, it was less than 0.1% vehicles to people. For every 1,000 people, there wasn't even 1/10 of a car. It took 6 years, from 1900 to 1906, to get to 1.25 vehicles per 1,000. In the next 4 years after that went up by a factor of 5 to 5. And in the 10 years from 1910 to 1920, to give you an idea of our love affair with the car, in 1910, we were a little over 5 vehicles per every 1,000 people. By 1920, it was almost 87 vehicles per 1,000 folks. So it went up all that time. It continued to grow until 1929, obviously the Depression, where it was 219 per 1,000. Then it went down. And it would get back up above the 1929 number. Actually, by 1936, it would shrink a little bit during the war and gather steam again in 1947. But starting in the 60s, it was a major progression every single year. And even through the gas shocks and the oil crisis of the 1970s, ownership per 1,000 continued to increase. It topped 800 in 2000. It crossed 800 for the first time. And now in 2024, we're talking 860, still climbing. Not as fast, but still climbing. The love affair we got with our vehicles. Who knew? We've talked about different EV battery chemistries for years. An update is next. We are the Tech Mobility Show. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Over the past 7 years that my program's been on the air, I've discussed with you various EV battery chemistries that have been discovered in testing or in the process of coming to market. In a recent article in Automotive News, an automotive trade publication, a quick summary of where these various chemistries are in the automotive chain they outlined, and I want to share it with you. This is topic C. Let me start with the obvious, and I said this up front, I'm going to say it again. I shared with you that when the domestic auto industry started scaling up to build EVs at scale, meaning tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of battery electrics, fuel cell electrics, hybrids, plug-in hybrids, when that stuff started coming to market, the automakers were going to look for ways to reduce costs, get away from metals that were expensive, that means rare earth metals, and to do everything they can to extend their lithium supply to a point when they can get away from lithium entirely. So we talked about all sorts of stuff. We talked about sodium ion. We talked about lithium fluoride, lithium boron, and a whole bunch of out there stuff. We even talked about using coal, as an electrode in an EV battery. We talked about that. This is where we are right now. I want to share this with you to just kind of give you an idea, an update of where things are according to the industry, where things are in the automotive industry as it relates to EV batteries. They will tell you that the most expensive part of an EV is the battery. And we're talking upwards of $10,000 for the battery all by itself. So anything they can do to increase durability, increase range, shorten charging time, and get the cost of materials down. EVs already lend themselves to automation because of how they're made and fewer parts. So trust me when I tell you that anything they can automate, they will. If it makes economic sense, they will. Now add to that the fact that they're working to pack more energy into the batteries and cut their expense. Right now, 60% of electric vehicles rely on a lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide battery. And you heard the words nickel, manganese, cobalt, the very metals they want to get away from. And this is according to the International Energy Agency. NMC batteries, what they're called. That chemistry accounts for most of the EVs sold in the United States. We've also talked about lithium iron phosphate, or LFP batteries, which are a growing alternative. They're upwards of 25% cheaper, but they're not as energy dense as the NMC batteries. And they account right now for about 30% of EVs built. So you're looking at this battle and this balance that the automakers are facing. They need to get costs down, but they want to increase density, which increases mileage and reduces the size of the battery and the weight of the vehicle, which gives them more range, by the way, and is, a beneficial loop. They also need these batteries to be safe, durable, powerful, and suitable for domestic mass production, meaning I can scale these up. I can get them up to scale to produce thousands, if not millions of these. Let's look at a few of the alternatives. Sodium ion. And they're looking at these batteries because, of course, sodium's cheap. Costs a third less than a lithium ion battery, and it contains manganese and iron, which are widely available. However, it's 3 times heavier than lithium, and it has a shorter driving range, which is why they tend to want to use that for stationary applications like for the grid. Lithium manganese iron phosphate. With manganese iron and phosphate generally affordable and available, it blends the best of nickel, cobalt, manganese with the best of lithium iron phosphate cells. However, the lifespan is shorter than a lithium iron phosphate cell, but the density is higher, so this could be promising. Here's one you may not have heard of: lithium sulfur. Lithium sulfur chemistries have a relatively high energy density and can charge quickly. Sulfur, obviously, is extremely abundant and inexpensive compared with cobalt and nickel. Long term, they cost half as much as the nickel, cobalt, manganese chemistries, and they could be potentially double the energy density. So what's the downside? Supply chain, building a sulfur material supply chain to deliver that volume, getting these batteries actually into testing. Because while they have done it in the laboratory, I don't know if any of these batteries that automakers are currently testing in real world applications right now was before any of these automakers put this on the line and invest money. They are going to put it through a variety of durability tests, whether it will catch fire tests, safety tests. They're going to crash it, try to burn it, flip it, crush it, manipulate it, so it'll be safe. They want to know that if they put this in a vehicle, it'll be safe. They're going to run them at over 120 degrees in the desert. They're going to run them north of International Falls at 40, 50, 60 below zero. And they're going to find out if these battery chemistries will work. Right now, I have heard of no such testing for lithium sulfur. But looking at this, they mentioned one company, we talked about Lighten, a lithium sulfur battery supplier. Their batteries will launch in non-automotive applications such as drones and satellites. But nowhere have I heard Lighten talking about or testing this in automotive applications, because one, the automaker's got to guarantee it. They've got to warranty it typically for at least 8 years. So they need to know it's up to the tax, and they need to know that they can build it at scale at a price that makes economic sense. The magic, or the holy grail right now, something they call solid state batteries. This is non-liquid lithium ion. It's stable, it's safer, it charges faster. Toyota's been talking about these now for 4 years. And right now, what's on the table is they expect to have these at least in testing in the next few years. It is very possible that these solid state batteries may be the way to go and may be found in vehicles by the end of the decade. Again, cost, durability, scalability. These are the issues. Even though the batteries may have the ability to give you higher density, low prices, are they scalable? Are they durable? Will they give me the kind of energy cycle duration I need that customers will be pleased to have that will make it worth doing? All issues the automaker has to think about before the first vehicle or the first battery pack gets put in a car with that chemistry. So the battle continues. And I told you that it would. And I'm not surprised if they move away from lithium entirely in the years to come. We've come to the end of this visit together. Be sure to join me next time right here. This has been the Tech Mobility Show.
The Tech Mobility Show is a copywritten production of Tech Mobility Productions Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of Tech Mobility Productions Incorporated.
For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.